Today we enter one of the most emotionally charged chapters in the entire letter, a chapter where Paul's pastoral heart is laid bare. If chapter 2 revealed the motives of a shepherd, chapter 3 reveals the burden of a shepherd. This is the chapter where Paul lets the Thessalonians see the weight he carried, the fears he wrestled with, the prayers he prayed, and the joy he felt when he heard they were standing strong. This is not theology from a distance, this is love up close. This is not doctrine in abstraction, this is discipleship in real time. This is the heart of a spiritual father who cannot rest until he knows his children are safe. Paul begins by reminding them of the moment he was forced to leave Thessalonica. The separation was abrupt, painful, and deeply unsettling. He describes himself as being torn away from them, a word that conveys the agony of a parent ripped from a child. It is the language of grief, not inconvenience. Paul did not leave because he wanted to, he left because he had to. The city erupted in hostility. A mob formed. Accusations flew. The believers had to smuggle Paul out under the cover of night. And as he left, his heart stayed behind. He says he was separated in person, not in heart. His body was gone, but his affection remained. His feet walked away, but his prayers stayed rooted in Thessalonica. His ministry moved on, but his love did not. He longed to return. He tried to return. He planned to return. But circumstances, hostility, and spiritual opposition prevented him. Paul is not being dramatic, he is being honest. Ministry is contested. The enemy resists the advance of the gospel. The enemy hates healthy churches. The enemy hates growing believers. The enemy hates spiritual momentum. Paul felt that resistance. He says that when he could bear it no longer, he sent Timothy to strengthen and encourage them in their faith. This is the heart of a true shepherd. He cannot rest until he knows his flock is safe. He cannot sleep until he knows they are standing. He cannot move on until he knows they are anchored. Paul's concern was not for his reputation, his comfort, or his legacy. His concern was for their faith. He feared that the pressure might crush them. He feared that the storm might overwhelm them. He feared that the enemy might exploit their vulnerability. Paul knew the pressure they were under. Thessalonica was not a friendly environment for believers. The city was loyal to Caesar. The culture was saturated with idols. The economy was tied to pagan worship. The social fabric was woven with spiritual darkness. To follow Christ in Thessalonica was to swim against the current of the entire city. It meant losing status, losing business, losing relationships, losing safety. It meant being misunderstood, mocked, and marginalized. It meant being treated as a threat to the social order. Paul knew the enemy would try to use suffering to sow doubt, fear, and discouragement. He knew the enemy would whisper lies. God has abandoned you. Your faith is pointless. This is too hard. You should give up. He knew the enemy would try to shake their confidence, weaken their resolve, and erode their hope. Paul feared that the tempter might have tempted them and that his labor might have been in vain. This is not doubt in God's power, it is honesty about spiritual warfare. So Paul sends Timothy, not just as a messenger, but as a stabilizer. Timothy is young, but he is faithful. He is gentle, but he is strong. He is humble, but he is wise. He is Paul's spiritual son, shaped by Paul's teaching, formed by Paul's example, and trusted with Paul's heart. Timothy goes to strengthen them, encourage them, and bring back news. He goes to remind them that suffering is not a sign of God's absence, but a sign of their identity. He goes to remind them that trials are not the end of faith, but the environment where faith grows. He goes to remind them that endurance is not natural, but supernatural. And then Timothy returns, and everything changes. Timothy brings good news, not of comfort, not of ease, not of relief, but of faith and love. The Thessalonians are standing firm. They are holding on to Christ. They are loving one another. They remember Paul with affection. They long to see him. They have not been shaken. They have not been defeated. They have not been discouraged. They have not been destroyed. They are enduring with joy. Paul's response is overwhelming. He says that their faith gives him life. He says, "Now we live, if you are standing firm in the Lord." This is one of the most powerful statements in the entire letter. Paul is saying, your endurance revives me. Your faith strengthens me. Your perseverance gives me breath. This is the heart of a shepherd. He lives when his people stand. He breathes when his people endure. He rejoices when his people remain faithful. Paul is so overwhelmed with gratitude, that he says he cannot thank God enough for them. Their faith is his joy. Their endurance is his crown. Their love is his comfort. Their stability is his strength. He prays night and day, that he might see them again and supply what is lacking in their faith. This is not criticism, it is discipleship. Paul knows that even strong believers need strengthening. Even mature believers need guidance. Even faithful believers need growth. Paul's longing is not sentimental, it is spiritual. He wants to see them so he can teach them more deeply, encourage them more personally, and strengthen them more fully. He knows that spiritual growth is not a one-time event, it is a lifelong journey. He knows that faith must be nurtured, love must be cultivated, and hope must be anchored. He knows that holiness is not automatic, it is formed through teaching, community, and the Spirit's work. Paul ends the chapter with one of the most beautiful prayers in the New Testament. He prays that God would direct his way back to them. He prays that their love would increase and overflow for one another and for everyone else. He prays that God would strengthen their hearts so they would be blameless in holiness at the coming of the Lord Jesus. This prayer reveals Paul's deepest desire, not that they would be comfortable, but that they would be holy, not that they would be safe, but that they would be strong, not that they would escape trials, but that they would endure them with love and holiness. This chapter calls us to examine our own response to trials. Do we stand firm, or do we shake? Do we endure, or do we retreat? Do we cling to Christ, or do we drift from him? Do we allow suffering to deepen our faith, or do we allow it to weaken our resolve? Paul reminds us that trials are not the end of faith, they are the environment where faith grows. They are not the enemy of hope, they are the soil where hope takes root. They are not the destroyer of love, they are the furnace where love is purified. This chapter also calls us to strengthen one another. Timothy strengthened the Thessalonians. The Thessalonians strengthened Paul. Paul strengthened them in return. This is the beauty of Christian community, we carry one another, encourage one another, pray for one another, and stand with one another in the storm. No believer is meant to stand alone. No Christian is meant to endure in isolation. Strength is shared. Hope is shared. Faith is shared. And finally, this chapter calls us to live with eternity in view. Paul's prayer is anchored in the return of Christ. He wants them to be holy, blameless, and overflowing with love when Jesus comes. He wants them to live ready, live awake, and live anchored in hope. He wants them to see their trials not as obstacles, but as preparation. He wants them to see their suffering not as punishment, but as refinement. He wants them to see their endurance not as survival, but as victory. This chapter invites us to stand firm in trials, strengthen one another in love, and live with our eyes fixed on the coming of the Lord.